Heart of Law podcast. My name is Mirena Umizaj Dumas, and I am your host. A few words about the podcast. As I started this series of podcasts this summer, the summer of 2025, I did it from a place of more refined intention. I took a break from the podcast, and that was for the purposes of really getting to refine myself, my services, my business. And that's because a lot has happened in the business and the practice of law. And I've also been personally very, very busy. And as I am getting ready to go on maternity leave here very soon, I really wanted to tune in to some of the people that I've been working with, not just the last year, but the last 10, 15 years of my career in the legal space. I will be missing the conferences, the in-person interactions. This is my way of making up for it and having some relevant content and really having a fresh perspective. What's happened in the last year? And a lot has happened. So I'm excited that I get to introduce and give a glimpse into the latest trends of the practice and the business of law from people at the top of their game. And one of those people is Houston attorney James Amaro. James has a very long list of accomplishments, which I urge you to look him up. He has a lot of podcasts, a lot of content online. But outside of James's career, I know him as a friend, and he has become a very close friend to me and my family. He inspires me. Him and his wife, Jel, are just really tremendous people, real people, parents. They're raising three young children while James is running a fast-paced law firm and Jel is going to law school, which when I think about that and get complacent, I just think of James and his wife. But with that said, quick intro on James Amaro. He started in the defense world. I'm going to let him expand on that a little bit more and really got to see and understand how the insurance world works. He then founded his firm in 2005 and has done an incredible job building a law firm that is just picking up momentum year after year and redefining the practice and the business of law. I'm so proud of James. I am humbled that I get to work with him on some of his largest cases. And in the beginning of his career, James was like this aggressive defense attorney who then really turned it around and put that energy to represent people hurt by insurance companies, personal injury cases, product liability cases, medical malpractice, and more. Not only is he a great attorney, he's also an incredible entrepreneur. So we'll talk a little bit more about how his mind works because he's engaged in tech, he's engaged in marketing. He really has the finger on the pulse on sort of every aspect of his firm and just continues to make it better and better. James, thank you for being here today. I'm so excited to record with you.
Thank you. That was very, very sweet and thorough of you. And I could tell you put a lot of thought into that. So I feel almost embarrassed about how sweet that was. And, before I forget, I want to say, that it's really cool to hear how inspiring my wife is to others because I hear it a lot and I tell her every time, that, you're in your late 30s now and everybody hears about you going to law school with three kids, while three little kids and they could be terrors, especially the oldest one, Aurora, but that she's, just drilled in. And so when she's in law school and, you saying that means a lot because I've heard that from a lot of lawyers and some of their wives have gone back to school too,
Mhm.
because they've met Angelica and they've been inspired by her too. And I tell her that every time when she gets really frustrated, like, why am I even doing this? Like, God, like, this sucks. It's like every week, like, I want to quit. And I don't know where I got this. I just tell people, like, you want to quit, quit. Right. I'm not going to argue with you about it. Like,
Yeah,
what makes you happy?
yeah.
And somehow that just gives her more gas in the tank. I'm going to say that. I'm
Vents,
quit.
but she
Right.
doesn't take her foot off the brake. I mean, I've
Yeah,
seen
she
her.
she 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 got some fire in the tank, that's for sure.
Yeah,
She's 100% Sicilian, so she's fiery. That's
yeah.
what I love about her though.
I love it. You became a dad later in life, and we talk about this all the time. I remember when you were having your first child, Aurora, and I was having my son, Leo. And I remember we would get on business calls, but it always started with like family conversations, right? Like how excited you were having a child and how ready you were for a family. And this was also the busiest time because this is when things were beginning to take off.
Oh
So
yeah.
before we start on the professional side, I just want to talk a little bit about that and what it's been like for you to become a dad and to become a family man and then do both in such a big way.
Yeah, that the timing, obviously nobody knew that COVID was right around the corner.
Mhm.
So we struggled for a long time. We're Catholic. We tried the old Catholic way, going to these programs that the Catholic Church has. We tried everything, and I'm not embarrassed to say, I'm very proud that our babies are IVF babies, and they said that we might have three, possible embryos that might work, and we ended up getting eight. And I called them the Amaro. I thought that was funny, and I about had a heart attack because I am Catholic, and I practiced the faith and all of that. And so when we had eight, I was like, well, I guess we're gonna have eight kids, right? It's just the way it's gonna work. I guess I'm gonna be out of names by the time we get to number eight. I'll just call them Ocho, right? And, and that's, of course, that's not how it works. I'll learn really quick. But that was right before COVID. And
Yeah.
so my daughter was born November 6th, 2019. And then COVID, of course, happens very suddenly in March of 2020. I remember being at a Dallas airport with Matt Elwell. Him and I were coming back from a mediation of a scaffold collapse case in Dallas, and it didn't go anywhere. And then we were so pissed off at the airport because it was like panic in Dallas. Like you couldn't even find hand sanitizer. I'm like, what is going on? Is this for real? And
Yeah.
then we got home, and within a week, I'm having a meeting with my entire firm, all the attorneys, all the support team. And at that time, I think we were like in the high 20s, low 30s in number of total people. And I just said, hey guys, like let's meet up in the new build out area. And we were doing a build out at the time too. I remember just everybody, grab a chair. We're gonna have a serious talk. And I don't know where I got this inspiration or where I heard it because I listen to a lot of podcasts and read books. And I just kind of absorb the information as I get it. But I said we got three options. We could die, give up, forget it, right? We could survive and barely make through whatever this is going to be and what it is. I'm hoping, everything's back to normal by the end of the year, but I don't know. I have no idea. And I can't make any guarantees. Or we could come out the flip side of this and thrive in this and flourish in the chaos that's about to happen. I choose option three, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get us in that position as we go through this period. And so while everybody else was scaling back during that time, I was doubling down and I was taking big risk, big chances. People were pulling out of ad spend, it's like nobody's driving, everybody's going to stay home. But what a lot of us learned that went through this as law firm owners is during that time, there were less accidents and wrecks and all that, but everything that happening was more massive. Like the there were less cars on the road, so nobody was locked in gridlock. Everybody was going like 100 miles per hour and getting in wrecks, and like the wrecks were really, really bad in that first 3 to 6 months. And the work injuries were really, really awful because, safety went out the window during this
Mhm.
time. And so, like trench collapse cases, scaffold collapses, I mean, trucking cases, people, there were less truck drivers. And so they were really scraping the bottom of the barrel of and taking risk, and people were going over hours to make sure we had toilet paper and things like that. Like it was insane what was happening, and it was really hard to find people to work at that time too. We had a really loyal crew at the time, and some people, after I got through COVID, I call it the great realization, during that period. But everybody was kind of locked down. Everybody was really scared. Everybody was nervous about losing their jobs, losing their ability to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they called it the great resignation. I call it the great realization. When we're
Yeah.
coming out of it in 21, 22, is like people realized, a lot of, especially support team people like very senior paralegals realized that they had been taken advantage of and or came out the end of that and they said, I don't want to ever go through that again, and I want security. I want certainty in my life and my career. So
Hmm.
we picked up a lot of, and at this time, and I get criticized locally about this. I was like, I don't know, maybe I heard this on a podcast, I don't remember. But I said, well, I'm going to pay 10%, 15, 20% more than everybody else is paying in the market to make sure I get top talent to help our clients because our clientele during COVID exploded. Our firm tripled easily in the number of cases we were looking at and cases we were signing up every month. And I needed the best of the best. And um, the people that we were hiring, I was just like, I'm going to pay you more than anybody else would pay. And that worked
Yeah.
for a while. Then everybody else leveled up and started paying more too. And now it's become extremely competitive in the
To
local
find good
market.
talent.
To find a good talent is also what happened. Another thing, and I talked to our senior paralegals about this, who complain sometimes that why can't I get, need some really solid junior paralegals. And I was like, do y'all not realize we have got like a 3, 4 year gap where people weren't learning?
Yeah.
Like, and then you have the work from home. A lot of senior paralegals that were later in their career when COVID happened got comfortable working from home and just don't want to come back and feel it almost feels like you're starting over because you
Yeah.
got new teams, you're building new teams, and it's frustrating to for them and for us as law firm owners and attorneys, trial lawyers, because we're getting called back to the mat, having to go back to court, having to get in the courtroom and try big long cases, and you got to have people that know what they're doing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's becoming
So,
more and more scarce.
but before before COVID though, you were doing well, the way I met you was BP. And BP goes back to 2013 for me, 2012, 2013. And that was, I don't know if that was your first time in mass torts, but that was certainly, you had invested quite a bit of yourself and resources into that world. And so when COVID happened, there was a shift, right? It wasn't just growing, doubling, tripling, but you were also kind of switching directions. Um, Tell me about BP, what effect that had on you and the firm, and how you made the transition to become just a personal injury law firm and just focus on that and kind of stay away from these big cycles of tort and the risk that comes with that. Because I think a lot of people have been in your shoes, or a lot of people are contemplate to kind of do the same thing. And I'd love for you to share your story about that time and those kinds of cases.
Yeah, so I'm trying to make a long story short, but we got up to 10,000 BP oil spill cases. Individual claims, business economic claims, cleanup workers, the offshore stuff. I mean, we had a piece of everything.
Yeah.
And at that time, you know, I would say I was pretty arrogant when I was signing these cases, cocky, I would just everything I touched turned to gold, in the beginning of my career. I mean, my first case that I signed up was a 7-figure case, and I won all my first 10 trials and I'd never even seen a trial, right? So like I was like, well, I should have done this a long time ago. This is easy. And then the BP comes along. I did have some sort of mass tort experience. We were doing a lot of the hurricane cases
Mhm.
from Rita and then Ike. I did a lot of Ike work.
Yeah, I remember that.
I tried the first Hurricane Ike case, so we got comfortable. I want to say we did with the firm. We got comfortable signing a lot of cases and handling them and systemizing how to handle cases. So when BP oil
Yeah.
spill happened, like, yeah, we can do this. It's kind of like the hurricane cases. And
Mhm.
next thing you know, we're signing up 500 cases a week, and we scaled up. We were renting office space in Birmingham, New Orleans, Houston, Mobile, stayed out of Florida, and getting lawyers that were licensed there. We scaled up to me and another firm partnered up, and we had close to 50 people, and I want to say close to 40 just working on this docket. And I wasn't doing much PI at the time. Things were going well in the beginning, but then after everything got stayed and abated and appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, like the well got dry fast and we're burning cash like crazy, on overhead. And we had the worst 2 days of our business ever. Um, and we still talk about it because like, you go through some stuff like that, you never forget it.
Yeah.
But it toughens you up.
Right.
You learn a lot. You learn what you can take and what you can get through. But firing, close to 40 people in 2 days, back to back, is just the you feel like a loser, you feel like a failure, and you have to like, you know, pick yourself back up and move on and go, uh, and find a way through that. And the way I described it, I can remember before I did it, I called my sister, who was like our office manager and bookkeeper at the time, into my office. And we're Irish twins. So we've done a lot. We've been through a lot together. She's not even a year and a half younger to me. And I was like, her name's Jackie, and I call her Jack. And I remember I could still see her in my office, like, and just sitting across from me. I go, Jack. I was like, close the door. I was like, this is this is bad. I go, I don't know how to get out of this. And I always see a way out. I always, if it's chaos,
Mhm.
I'm the guy,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the guy on the plane. If the pilot has a heart attack, I don't know how to fly a plane, but I'll get us on the freaking ground, so this was bad. And I was like, I don't know how, I just don't know how to get out of this. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I always see the light. I don't see it. And the way I described it for years was it was like being in a giant, you know, pool, like quicksand, and I
Hmm.
couldn't move, and I was
Yeah.
slowly sinking, like the end is inevitable, and it's going to be slow and painful and so much anxiety and so much panic, and nobody's coming to help. And then when you realize like how far you are from the shore in this sea of quicksand, then the panic really sets in, and the like hopelessness, right?
Right.
And so I just said, screw it. I don't know. I'm just going to pick a direction and we're going to go slowly till we get the hell out of this mess we got into. And
Did that define mass torts for you, or
that I
just
wouldn't say it defined it,
because you
but
haven't been in mass torts since? I mean,
oh
you
yeah,
were
I
like, I'm
joke,
out.
I call it math tort PTSD.
PTSD.
Yeah, but once I got out, at the same time, I we hired we kept the skeleton crew, we budgeted for that, and I
Yeah.
said every PI case I have, I don't even think I had 100 back then. I said is $1 million case until they pay us. So take every case to trial, ask for $1 million+ in every single case. Do not take BS money. Like we got to push as hard as we can. And I say I developed a reputation at that during that period. I said that these defense attorneys and certainly these insurance companies would love to see us die and would love to see us go out of business and bankrupt.
Yeah.
And, and they don't put food on our table or our clients.
The regular cash flow for a business, like a law firm is a business, right? The regular cash flow wasn't there. It was a different cycle. But you also live in Houston and you know a lot of mass tort firms that have made a lot of money. So there is like in your face the pressure that like if those guys can do it, I can do it, right? But then if you can't put food on the table, right? If you don't have the cash flow, if you can't pay the bills, then it's a different story for you. So like how has that played out knowing that a lot of people got rich on BP and other cycles of torts that came after. And a lot of people did fail and fall face first.
Oh yeah, I mean, we saw it through the end on our cases. We didn't give up. We just found a way to move forward on it. And I wouldn't say that we got rich by any means, but we got our money back. But
Mhm.
if you put the time back into it, probably not. The time factor. It would have been better sitting in a freaking money market account earning 2%,
Yeah,
the original investment than how we turned out in it. But some people did very well. They got in early, got out early, right? And
right.
my friend Howard Nations had once told me, and it's something I wrote on my dry erase board, is to watch the herds. You got to watch, not follow the herds, watch them and
Mhm.
watch what they do. Get in, get out with the mass torts. I was like, that sounds great, Howard. Keep doing that. I'm going to go do a PI and wrongful death. That's where I'm going to stay. I'm not playing this roulette game anymore.
So you don't regret it?
No, not at all. Not
Okay.
at all. Like I can't even imagine being, invested in 100,000 mass tort cases or something like that, and
Having the debt.
having the debt and never being able to get out, and with
Yeah.
that interest with the private equity that invest in those is so ridiculous. I'm very fortunate that I was able to pay off everybody when I was in that situation. I didn't default. I didn't even default on my Discover card, like I never even made a late payment. I found a way through that. It took 2 years.
I was there, I remember.
It took 2 years to get out. It was painful
I
and
remember the call.
expensive
Hmm.
and almost desperate. I'd say in the beginning it was certainly desperate, but getting out of that was probably one of the biggest accomplishments I'll ever have in my
I
life.
agree with that. I agree with that because I remember it was just survival, right? I remember the panic. I remember feeling it in our calls and our meetings, and obviously figuring out how you were going to pivot. But I think what you were feeling is what a lot of people were feeling, and defaulting and then having debt on top of losing the actual assets, the cases was
Hmm.
double failure. So the fact that you were able to figure that piece out has stayed with me. And that's only translated into more growth and into more strength and financial savviness that I've seen from you since, which we'll cover in a little bit here. COVID happened, you decided to then really double down on personal injury and like get really good at that, right? And so while you were, figuring out how to scale the firm, you were also taking on the cases that had the most potential, working them up and getting ready to go to trial, whatever it took to be able to get the most value. You recently had a $56 million verdict, which wow, amazing. Congratulations. That's pretty cool. And you've had, seven-figure settlements just in the last eight to 10 days, like multiple seven-figure settlements. So in the span of like 5 years, the results have changed. They have exponentially grown, right? So what do you attribute that growth to? Was it like you became a better lawyer, you hired better people? Like, how did that happen?
Honestly, I mean, back in 2010, me and Zach Norris, rest in peace, my brother from another mother, he died of glioblastoma a few years ago. But we had tried. We took 16 cases to trial in 2010,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to say close to 10 the verdict.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know how we were winning or why we were winning. Like we would talk about it on the long drives to and from Corpus and Dallas because we were trying cases all over the state. This whoever would hire us or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I think it is. Back then I still smoked cigarettes, smoking cigarettes out the window. I think how are we beating these guys that have tried like 300 cases? Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I go, I think it's because they're just like old fogies, they're just coming in, they're doing their same shtick and we come in, we have no idea what we're doing. And we're just real. We just give it to them real and go in and win the case. And Zach had actually seen a trial. I had never seen a trial before until I tried a case. And one of the funniest stories that he would say. Like I was like, okay, all right, so the judge does this and the judge does that, and then when do I do my opening? When do I do that? And he'd go, well, the judge would go, you may proceed, counsel. Okay, I was like, I don't want to look like an idiot. Like, so what do I do? Because then you say, may it please the court, and then you get up and you give your opening. And I go, may it please the court. I go, are you serious? I go, I'm not saying that. I go, you're messing with me. Really? I go, that's what lawyers say? I go, I've never heard that before. So I went to law school in Wisconsin too. So it seemed real like formal and archaic, right? It's like, what are they going to have trumpets play? Dun, 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 may it please the court. It's like, I don't, I'm not going to say it, man. I go, he's like, judge might get mad. It's like, I'm not saying it. It sounds stupid. I'm not going to look at some people after I just said, may it please the court. It sounds like really weird, man. And so I didn't. And thank God I look so young. Like I look like I was like 18 years old, and I was like 30. And I got away with it for a while, but now I do say it, obviously. Or else I used to be like, is this guy for real? But back then they just chalked it up to like, this guy has no idea what he's doing.
Right.
And I would just do it. And I played that up. I took advantage of looking young and letting the courts know, think that I didn't know what I was doing. And when I told Zach, like he told me some more rules, I was like, dude, I can't keep all that straight in my head. Like we would write our opening statements on the way to the court. How does this sound? How does this sound? Right. And, you know, I said, I can't keep all this stuff straight, dude. I go, what I'm going to do is I'm going to win. I'm going to do whatever I can to win. I'm going to do whatever I want until somebody stops me. And then I'll know I can't do that. That's how I'm going to learn how to do this stuff. That is still our number one rule for trial prep. Do whatever you want until somebody stops you. Like
Hmm.
get it out of your head about all these stupid rules and formalities and everything. Like do what you got to do to win the case for your client. Within the boundaries of the rules, don't do anything, scandalous or that is just wrong or breaking rules. But all that formality, plaintiff rest its case and all these formal little phrases, like we just didn't do any of that stuff. I just picked it
So
up.
would you say a repetition of just like going to court, trying cases over and over again?
Yeah,
That.
I also say like to our lawyers right now, like they're like, oh God, so and so is a really good trial lawyer, and so has tried, a bazillion cases and la 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 la. I was like, I'm not scared of that dude, or lady. I go, I don't care, you know. They care more than us because they got a reputation they got to uphold with the insurance adjuster and their partners, and they got to justify their billable hours and whatnot, not us. Like, we just got to go in there and kill it for our client, period. And I go, who I'm terrified of is James Amaro and Zach Norris when they were 31, 32 years old. Those lunatics, psychos, those are the guys I'm afraid of because they will work around the clock all night long and do whatever it takes to win. And they're completely unpredictable. And they're not stupid. They're inexperienced, but they surely ain't.
They're hungry,
They
right?
are
And
they
there's
are savages. Those are the guys I'm afraid of. And fortunately, on the defense side, they don't let young bucks try cases. Most of the guys I grew up trying cases against were old enough to be my grandpa that had tried hundreds and hundreds of cases. I never
yeah.
tried cases against people my own age. And still,
And you think that that was an advantage, right? Because I mean, you have the courage and you have nothing to lose.
yeah, it made them look silly. Like it made them look these old lawyers that were so formal and everything, and like they were set in their ways. And you get somebody like me and Zach come in, and we're just so unpredictable and friendly. And Zach was extremely gregarious, and the juries just loved us. Like where they would talk, stay back and talk with us, and like laugh with us about the stuff we were doing.
Yeah.
You got a kick out of it.
Yeah. So would you say that's how you got to become a better lawyer, or were there other
100%.
things
Yeah.
that helped?
Yeah, no, nobody helped us. Like there weren't some old lawyer showing us how to do things. James, you got to do it this way. Let me show you. And I didn't have the thrown into the fire experience that I hear a lot of lawyers my age had and mentors of lawyers that have passed on. I didn't have that experience. I got into the business on the business side first,
Hmm.
I had a handful of seven, eight-figure cases, within the first week of starting my firm. And I'm meeting with lawyers that were older than me at the time
How did you get those cases?
through my family. I had I have 50 something cousins. I grew up in, a blue collar family that for generations and generations of working in factories.
Mhm.
So the explosion had happened in Texas City with a major refinery. I'm not going to say their name. And I knew people who knew people. And they
Mhm.
needed some help and they needed somebody that they could trust, like one of them. And, James Amaro entered a chat. That's me, because they were my boys. They were the people I grew up with.
Right.
And that's how it started. And so, I'm a young lawyer walking in going, I don't have any money. I just quit my job. I got a 401k with balance of 10 grand. It's going to last me maybe 3 months before I'm out of money. So I need
Yeah.
money right now to help me get started. And I'll, want to work with you on this case. And here's my deal. You know, take it or leave it. I got five more meetings set up with attorneys across town. And
Yeah.
nobody knew who I was. I was like
Right.
27 years old. I was just a kid and I'm meeting with people and I think about that and I think about somebody walking to my office like right now in their 20s doing that to me and the balls on that kid,
Right.
But
I
like,
mean, what you had was support and complete confidence from your community, your people, right? Which is like I'm Albanian and so over the years like people even though I'm not a lawyer, people know that I like swim in the same circles, but they somehow think I'm a lawyer and they come to me and they're like, "Hey, I need you to help me with this or that." And I'm not even a lawyer, but they come to me because of the loyalty and the fact that there is such a common denominator. So you had that. Most people don't have that, but that's such a big boost to be able to just take off with larger cases and then figure it out as you go.
right. Like the country club lawyers, I used to say, they're like, how are you going to know all these cases? And I go, I'm not hanging out at golf courses, y'all. I hang out at freaking honky tonks and beer joints, my thug friends from Rosenberg, Richmond. I don't roll with you guys at Smith and Walensky's drinking scotch and
Right.
playing golf. I don't do that stuff, and I still don't. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing. I love that so much. Okay, I want to pivot a little bit into um, your entrepreneurial side because it's just as strong, right? You develop the skills of being a good litigator, but what you've done parallel is you have developed the skill of a business person, right? An entrepreneur, just it's like your business is like a startup, then you figure out how to add some layers on top of that. And then like today you have how many people working for you
I
over
don't know, close to 100, some 90,
right?
somewhere.
I was blown away when I came to your office like a year ago because like I didn't know and we hadn't met and I hadn't come to the office. But like there's multiple floors that you take up in this building. The building
Mhm.
has your name now and you are a brand. You are a household name in Houston. And so I was just like taken back by that, right? What is it like to because obviously it takes a lot. You have to constantly improve your skill set and then you have to maintain, right? So tell me about both the good and the bad that comes with doing both and maybe walk somebody like our audience is always like people that follow this podcast are always struggling with the practice of law or the business of law. You can't do both.
Right.
How do you do it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm very fortunate that I happen to be pretty good at both. I want to say definitely not the best, at either, but I'm pretty freaking good at both of them. And, I win cases a lot. And I know how to do depositions. I'm working on building a depo college for my team using AI and all this other stuff that I'm doing that I'm going to probably share with other law firms at some point, but right now
Mhm.
building it to train my people on how I do depositions. We call them $1 million depositions because the value moves $1 million after I do a deposition in my cases. And it's not every deposition, but the depositions I do, where I get called in to do are big depositions, key experts, key corporate reps, key 30B6 witnesses, truck driver in a wrongful death case, like if they're key depots. And we go in, we know exactly what we're going to get out of that witness and we go get it. So that trial, that instinct to kill and win, in trial, it translates over to business too. Like
Mhm.
you got to find a way to win in business too. And a lot of people don't think about that and they don't translate those skills over of how to do it and how to just figure it out. Like we're very fortunate as trial lawyers and that work in the personal injury space and the wrongful death space that we know that every case is different. It's like a whole new learning experience. Maybe we're going to learn about a bobcat or a Skytrack lift or scaffolding or oil and gas explosions. And, you learn new stuff in every case and it keeps it exciting and fun. I'm very, very, very curious person. Like I go down YouTube rabbit holes, for hours at night to keep me up. And if I'm just want to know how something works or something, I was looking up zip ties for air brake lines the other night and watched all these videos about people fixing freaking air brakes on the back of trailers because we have a case right now that I'm working on. And I was like, people really use plastic zip ties to keep this thing? It's hot, they're chafing, la la la. So, you got to have that curiosity, I would say, in both the business, on the business side, you know, I really had to pay attention. I
Mhm.
tried not to. I've been in QuickBooks maybe 10 times in my life. Like,
Mhm.
but I still function as a CFO of my law firm. I
Okay.
I know how to read financials, you know. I know accrual and cash basis and balance sheets. I know how to read them. I know how to look at them. I know I can look at somebody's balance sheets and financials for the last 3 years, and I could tell you a lot about their business because
Mhm.
I look at them every single week, you know, and I've learned, but I've forced myself to learn that stuff. I mean, it's not fun. Nobody wants to. I avoided accounting and biology in college and high school, and somehow I have to learn about biology and anatomy all the time in my cases, and I have to, know everything about financials too, right? It's funny how that worked out, but
Right.
but I happen to be really good at math. I was a chemical engineer major.
Yeah.
So like I can do differential equations. I took PChem. So, I'm a nerd, right? Like with physics and calculus and all that stuff.
But you do have what, a controller? You
Yeah,
have a
we have an incredible comptroller. I like to call it comptroller because I think it's funny instead of controller. And we have, a full accounting team that does all that stuff. Uh,
right.
you
But you
know,
still feel like you need to look it over. You need to make the big decisions. It's not like separate and apart and other people's
percent. You got to own it. You have to own it. If you own a law firm, you are the CEO of that law firm. And if you're not the CEO, guess what? Somebody else is. And you
Mm,
have no idea what's going on. You got, I'm the lead trial lawyer and the CEO of a law firm. It is a lot to deal with, especially we're dealing with tons of massive wrongful death, complex litigation. We have commercial litigation too that we're involved in that it's a lot, but you got to have some really smart, talented lawyers that are on your team and believe in your vision on that side. And then on the business side, again, you got to have some good reporting. You got to have KPIs, OKRs, all that stuff,
mhm.
spreadsheets that you're looking at all the time. I get reports every Sunday from every single department and I look over it. I still sign every single contract at my law firm. You
Mm.
know, it's through my phone, very rarely in person. We've been doing e-signatures before COVID, actually, and that was another reason that we were so quickly to pivot. We were already doing e-signature before.
But why do you sign like you have how many lawyers?
I don't know, like 14 or so. It helps me keep tabs about what's coming in. And because I know, and maybe this is PTSD in the very beginning of the business, we had our original website. We had a really bad SEO company and we got blacklisted by Google. It was amarofirm.com. And I was so busy with litigation and depositions back then. This must have been like 2007, 8. And I'm in the office talking to my sister and I go, "Hey, the phone's not ringing." What's up with that? I goes, the phone now, has it been ringing today? Because we were getting calls like all the time.
Right.
And she's, and it's like, I think five of us at the time, maybe even, not even, maybe not even that. Um, and she goes, oh, I didn't notice the phone wasn't ringing. So I was like, something's up. Went on Google, nowhere to be found. Like we were like top page, first page for all the PI searches. Not everybody was using the
Yeah.
internet back then, so it wasn't like that big of a deal yet. Um, like to find a lawyer, like people were still using the yellow pages, right? Billboard, TV, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And our website disappeared. And so I was like, dang it, man, I can't like turn my back for a second and something like
Right.
this happened. So that it's come from that, from way back when, that I still am
You
copied on.
still have to vet everything.
Yeah, well, not vet, just so I know, I will know in 1 or 2 days if I don't sign a contract. Like I'll notice it because I do it every single day, right? It's just part of my day sitting, you know, waiting for my drink or whatever, or my food at a restaurant. I'm always signing POAs every day. And then I'm also looking at the intakes that come in case it needs my attention. If I see one and re-intake over 50 cases a day right now that we look at.
Mhm.
So when I screen through those every day too. I keep them in my inbox and just look to see if anything that needs my immediate attention. But we have a really, really solid team that have been with me for a very long time since the beginning that run our intake department and run our onboarding department. So like they know what they're doing. They're better at it than me. If I go sign up a case and meet with a client, I'll be there all freaking day talking and learning about their family and everything. And so
Yeah.
they go in, they get the job done, and then, take it to the next step.
So would you say, like, what percentage of the cases do you personally get involved in? Is it like the top 10%?
I wouldn't say it's a percentage, but I'll say that every case that's handled at my firm is handled the way I handled it. And so I've been very intentional since the very beginning. Great book for
Yeah.
people that are just starting the law firm. It's called The Power of a System by Fisher.
Okay.
I read this dead broke on our honeymoon in Marfa, Texas, because that's all I could afford to do with the 5,000 bucks my dad gave me that he couldn't afford to give me. I took my wife to Marfa, Texas, and we got a VRBO at the time. And I read this book and it changed everything for me. I started, and my takeaway was if you do something, document your process, every process from how you make coffee or whatever, how you answer the phones, everything. And I just started doing that. Everything I did, I was like, I don't want to ever do this again. I'm going to write down a process. So we have like thousands of SOPs for
I
in
didn't
our
know that. That's
yeah,
very
rehab out people. It's like the number one complaint at my firm when people start is like the SOPs. Like too many SOPs and too many, like people complain about it, but I'm like, there's a reason they exist.
Yeah.
Believe me.
And instead of asking a question and wasting time, read the SOP, and if you still have questions, we can talk about it, but at least you have a foundation. I totally agree with that approach.
Yeah, so great book. We're taking it to another level now. We're creating an AI internal bot. We're calling it the Amaro bot. And we're taking all our SOPs and dumping them into a knowledge base and linking it up to our own little chat box. So you could just ask, does the
Yeah.
firm offer, PTO for Labor Day? You can get the answer and pull up the policy from the handbook. And then also, what's the firm, for Team James litigation, how quickly do you guys send out subpoenas to insurance companies? Oh, within X days, according to blah, blah, blah policy. That way, there's so much information about when we onboard people that there's no way. Like the handbook for paralegals is a
Right.
3-inch binder.
Nobody's reading it, right? It's like you have it because you want to be compliant, but people aren't really reading it. So James, I want to I want to make sure I don't forget asking this. You're essentially, you've put the foundation in place for how cases come in, how cases are processed. You're obviously delegating well, but also you're able to capture data and you're using AI and you're figuring out how to stay ahead of things, and maybe you can expand on that a bit more. But even though, despite the results that you're getting, most of your cases come to you directly. Is that correct? So
Yep.
you're not relying on referrals. You're getting direct cases, really good cases. And, when we talk about sharing fees, like most attorneys I know that get referrals are like, it's a compliment for me to get referrals from other attorneys. Totally get it. But financially, you're paying 50% of what you earn or what you make
Right.
on that case to somebody else. And they're not doing anything, and you're putting the money, the time, you're getting the result. You're bypassing that. The majority of your cases come to you direct, which means you're retaining close to, 100% of the fee in each case. How can people get there? Like, I know so many very competent lawyers that just can't break through.
It's it's that's a really good question because we were just talking about this recently, me and some other people that I'm not going to mention. And it's this market is going to be totally different in the next 3 to 5 years. Everything's going to be different. And if I were to even, somebody like me that's aggressive, go-getter, kind of make it happen person, were to start today, I'd probably fail. I don't think I could make through what is coming around the corner right now with private equity and AI. It is changing everything. Like, we measure cost per acquisition, cost per leads, conversions, and lead conversions, and close without a fee cases. If we take them for investigative purposes, or turns out the police report puts fault on our client or something like that. We track those percentages and all those ratios on everything, and look at it every single day, every single week, every month, and pivot, and readjust how we target on the internet and all that. But, I've been very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. When reviews first came out, because of the BP clients, I couldn't spend any money when I got involved in that mess. I couldn't spend any time or money on marketing or advertising. Everything was survival. But we had 10,000 ecstatic clients that knew that we weren't going to sell them out, and we weren't going to go under, and we were going to fight to the very end, which we did do. So those clients started giving us reviews. And so I got over 1,000 reviews when everybody else had like 10, 20 back in 2014, 15. And so when COVID happened, everybody went to the internet. And so Regis exploded and LSAs rolled out and all this other stuff. And I've always walked the walk too. Like, I know how to handle the cases. Like,
Mhm.
and so everybody at my firm has been taught the Amaro way. We've documented the processes on the Amaro way of how we do things. I'm not interested in how other firms did things when people join the firm. It's like, great, that worked over there. If you want to do it that way, you should probably go back there. That's not how
Yeah.
we do it here.
Mhm.
Like, I know what made us successful, and that's what we're doing here. Like, this is what our service standards are for our clients. This is the promises that we made to our clients, and these are the expectations. And I expect you to jump on board or shake hands and part ways, like if you're not willing and able to do what we need to do for our clients.
Yeah.
So,
So
did I answer the question?
you did. I mean, I think marketing, doing it correctly and maximizing your existing clients, is, I think, the answer. But tell me about the fear, because to your point, I agree the landscape is going to change dramatically. Tell me your fear, but also the opportunity you see with AI and private equity,
Yeah.
where you are going to fit in that.
I think I haven't thought totally through this, so I'm not going to say what I would do if I were just starting a firm today or was just starting to get it going and making, maybe a couple of $1 million a year or something. Like,
But even if you're established, right? I mean, I get calls from attorneys all the time that say, "What should I be doing right now to stay ahead and stay relevant in the next 5 years?"
yeah, well, let's just say that SEO is going to be the next yellow pages, right? It already is starting. AI is taking over. And if you're not paying attention to AI
Mhm.
from A to Z, from
Mhm.
intake to marketing to onboarding, to client communications, to after hours calls, to deposition preparation, to research, to medical summary. I mean, if you're not trial prep, everything, you should be thinking about AI. Like you stay the thought leader as with AI. And the mistake I see is people thinking AI can do something for them. AI
Mhm.
is your helper. It's like your assistant. AI helps you do something, and people are having trouble, especially lawyers. They just think, "Well, it's AI it, right?" No, and I've gotten emails from lawyers that were written by AI. It drives me nuts when I read it because I'm like, it sounds like you're either pandering or you're being condescending, and I'm like, I know this person. They don't talk like this. Like, why are you writing me something like
You can tell too. I
that? Yeah,
mean,
you can.
even the
And
emails are coming through, and
so, like, we're actually in the process of drafting an AI policy for the firm,
Yeah.
that's going to roll out because there's really a lot of concerns that the cat is out of the bag, with HIPAA compliance and people are uploading stuff they shouldn't be uploading in the chat GPT and it's creating a lot of exposure. There's a lot that remains to be seen right now with AI. We're developing our own internal AI, not just for SOPs and our handbooks and stuff like that, but deposition preparation, mediation preparation, trial prep. I'm doing my own stuff because I want to feel secure with it. And I don't know how that's going to play out in the next 3 to 5 years. I have no idea, but I know what I'm going to do now. Um, there's the threat of private equity that's coming into market. And I'll give you an example. Like right now, everybody that owns, you know, pretty big firms or maybe even smaller guys across the country, we all know this, is that the cost per acquisition has skyrocketed online. So, in the digital landscape, the cost per acquisition is just gone through the roof over the last 3 years, where it's not sustainable. Like you can't pay, $10,000 average cost per acquisition for a car wreck case when your average fee is $10,000, right? You just can't. Private equity can. They can
Well,
squeeze.
I want to add something, right? Because that's my world. And I've thought a lot about this, James. And I think we've also, on our last time we were together, we were kind of talking about this. But what I think private equity and AI cannot replace is the trial lawyer skill.
Right,
I think where it becomes a question is, are trial lawyers going to try and become independent and own that skill and leverage that skill to be able to own the business and to have the ability to make decisions, business decisions for themselves? Or are they going to sell that skill to private equity, or private equity comes in with the resources and AI, and then that trial lawyer is working for, PE. And so I feel like we're at this crossroad where people are figuring out, can I still be in charge? Can I still own my business? Can I still do what I want to do with my law firm versus somebody coming in and dictating, because I can't compete with them.
right.
Do you see yourself potentially having to cross that bridge? And if so, like, how would you handle it? Is there an exit strategy? Like, how do you think about that?
We're already working on it because we got so big and have taken so much market share that private equity can, if depending on how you look at it, it could be seen as a threat, right?
Okay.
It's the grow or die kind of deal. And as a trial lawyer and a CEO, business owner, like I see it both ways. And I see that there's done me 5, 10 years ago, no way with the autonomy that trial lawyers have. I mean, they're artists, they're wild cats, right? And I get that. And I understand it because I'm the same way. I have a way I want to do cases. I don't want to do it your way, right? But a lot of us too, like what's developed over the last few years is, you got Jerry Spence, rest in peace, and you
Mhm.
have all these other trial lawyer schools that have grown, out maybe of Spence's, but also ones that have come out organically too
Mhm.
that didn't exist 10 years ago.
Yeah.
to go and learn. So a lot of the really good trial lawyers out there, the best, have all kind of we all kind of do things the same way, right? And so I think that there is some consistency to consider as we move through this era. I know for on our side, we're looking at creating our own MSO and looking at
What's an MSO?
managed service organization. So creating our own MSO for the operational side of the business so that
Mhm.
lawyers can continue to be lawyers and do what they need to do. And for part of our growth strategy is going to be looking at other firms across the country that want to roll up into our firm and do things the Amaro way on the operational side so that the lawyers can focus on being lawyers and
Mhm.
do what they're good at and let the business people do what they're good at and everybody share in that success. I think
But
that,
if PE approached you and said, here is, oh, I want to buy your firm for, I don't know, 300 million. Those transactions are happening, by the way,
right.
as we speak. Here's 300 million. We want you to still stay in the business, run the business. You'll continue getting a piece of it. But we provide the capital, we provide the resources, and you technically at that point take some of your equity out, but you're tied to the business for the next 10 years or 15 years. Would you take that deal?
Don't know. I have no idea. I haven't even thought about that because I'm just not wired to think like that. You
Mhm.
know, I just focus on I know things that I know I can control, and I know that my brand is bigger than me as an individual and as a lawyer, and that was intentional also. Like I never made myself made the firm about me, or you won't see me in Instagram videos or TikTok videos, trying to brag or like make talk about what a great lawyer I am and all that stuff. I just that's just not my MO. I like my privacy. I like to be able to go out with my family and have dinner. Like I don't need that significance.
Yeah.
Um, and and I'll say because you saw it too when you came here, my name's on a freaking big building, right? And when they put it up, I was actually out of town, and our senior managing attorney said, "Hey, I'm just going to give you a heads up. It's the logo looks really good on the building." And he goes, I ain't gonna lie, I got teary-eyed when I saw it because he's been working with me for like 10 years. And I was like, and he went through the BP. He was a baby lawyer on that docket. So he's been with me through the shit, right? And when I got home Sunday, I had to go to the office to get something, and I drove by the building. It was a rainy, dreary day, and I looked up and I felt sick to my stomach when I saw the logo on the building because it was so big. And it made me realize that the firm is so much bigger than me now and it's such a huge responsibility, not
Mhm.
just for my family, but for everybody's family that works there and
Yeah.
all of the families that we represent and that it is a huge responsibility that I guide it in the right way and I steer it in the right way and that I protect that brand and protect the way that we handle cases and the service that we give people.
Yeah.
So that really weighed on me and and I think people should
There
know.
was an adjustment period, I remember.
Oh yeah, it definitely was. And so now it's really affected like how we're working with the branding agency right now for the next step about how we're going to continue that legacy of like
Yeah.
building the
Mhm.
firm around the brand. And I'm fortunate I got a unique name too. And I'm Hispanic also, so that helps being in Texas. So
Mhm.
we got some great ideas about what we're going to do with it. The way we're going to continue to build it up as a brand,
Yeah.
not James. It's the Amaro Law Firm, and I
Oh,
talk about it too, like that too. We call it the firm, and
yeah.
and somebody brought up something. I'll say this too. Like I was telling them this story, and they said something like that that landed with me. They said, "Well, it's sort of like." You had a baby tiger and you loved the baby tiger and you cuddled it and you fed it and then it got big and now it can eat you. I was like, that's terrifying. You're
That's a
right.
good analogy.
It can eat me. It totally can.
Yeah, I mean, I totally see what you're saying, but let me offer this because I've worked with you and I've worked on your cases and I've met your clients, both in person, virtually, as you know. I think what you do that you're not giving yourself credit outside of how you've built the brand, how relentless you've been, how you've become this incredible experienced trial lawyer and CEO of your business is the way that you treat people and how they trust you implicitly and how they feel like they're like an extension of you, of your firm, like of your family. I don't think AI or PE could ever replace that. And I think most people get so caught up in like all the things, all the other things, but the human touch, like the ability
Hmm.
to connect, which I think trial lawyers, like you said, are wildcats. But while they can be wildcats, I think what's true about really good trial lawyers is that they have the ability to see through the pain, to see through the chaos, to see through the hardest time of somebody's life and still be able to take that on, take their pain and make it their mission to win for them. I don't think that could ever be replaced. So protecting that in the baby tiger and in the as the tiger gets big, I think protecting that is going to be the success and the difference
Hmm.
between firms that survive and firms that don't survive. And that is true for you because like me, I'm a very sort of, you know, touchy and human. Like I'm all about the human aspect of things and so I think that's been a big connection for us because I could see you living that, breathing that, teaching that. And I love to be part of that. And that's the biggest piece of inspiration. So while we talk about all these things, I think the biggest takeaway is people don't know how much you actually give a shit about your clients.
Oh yeah.
Seen it firsthand. I've seen the tears. I've cried in those calls, and that doesn't happen everywhere with everyone. I mean, that's the rare, I think, ingredient about you.
Thank you. And well said. It's really do appreciate that. I'm not a sellout. And I mean I die before I sold out anybody. Friends I grew up with and family or everything. I mean, I'm just, I'm your warrior, I'm your champ. But the clients, like I got two really sweet messages from two families that we helped over the last few years, including one that you actually had sent me a screenshot of. And they reached out to me randomly and just to talk about their new house and how they were moving on.
Yeah.
Um, and I said, thank you so much for reaching out. I was having a bad day and this really just made my day. Thank you for that. And I'm so happy to hear how well you're doing and everything that's happening in your life. You are an inspiration to me that
Mhm.
you can make it through this incredible, awfully awful tragedy and come out being good people on the other side of it. And it's refreshing in today's society. Like, it's if I could do anything all day long, it would be that. Just working for families like that and helping them through that. I don't know. I didn't ask for this to be wired the way I am. I just am. And I know that God's given me these abilities to do this hard stuff for people and put this willpower in me to do it. I owe it to him and owe it to my family and my ancestors that gave up everything to come to this country to do that, to do what I should be doing. It's just, I don't know, it's like a duty, right?
Yeah.
And some people don't see it, like they get caught up in the money. I hate it. I hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it when
Yeah.
when somebody says something to me on social media. And that's why I don't really post a lot about our results. I don't talk. I didn't even have it on our website until like 3 or 4 years
I
ago.
know I asked you actually, like, why aren't your recent results on there? But
We
I
don't. I got an email in my inbox right now from our marketing people asking like, "Hey, you haven't like given us any results like since like March." And I was like, "Man, I don't like putting it out there because people start talking about it or they say, "Oh, you can go buy another car or something," and it makes me feel gross. I don't like it. It
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I
it
mean, look,
'cause I'm not like that.
the real world. especially the social media world is all about the results. You go to an attorney's, like a well-accomplished attorney's page, whether it's website or social media, and you'll see everything in these like big headlines, 50 million, 100 million, 20 million. And I guess that's how the new marketing wave works, and it is what it is. But I think you could still do that. You could still show people how good of a lawyer you are and the results you get for your clients and continue to keep that intimacy and that connection with cases that need the kind of touch and the kind of support from you. I think you could do both elegantly and tastefully without
Right.
feeling, guilty or gross about it. So,
And that's what I try to do, like
yeah.
if you do what everybody else is doing, you're going to get what everybody else is getting,
Yeah.
And I've been and the firm has been extremely fortunate that we get entrusted with these cases that you hear about on the
Yeah.
news and whatnot, and they
Yeah.
come to us organically, either through
Right.
family or they did their research, they read our reviews, they go watch me on, podcast or my YouTube channel, and they learn about us and they learn how we're wired and what we're about.
Yeah.
And we get those type of cases because, it's about our clients. It's not about, God, I mean, it's not about the money, man. And I learned that early in my career, right?
Yeah. Well, the
So
money comes, right? When you do the right thing and you're good at it, you don't have to worry about the money. And I think I've always believed in that. And you could tell when somebody is worried about the money. And I think they're also insecure about their skill set versus somebody just doesn't even think about that. That's like the last thing on their mind because,
there's because I work with a lot of trial lawyers across the country too,
yeah.
in cases. So they always ask like, well, how much did you spend on that case or how much you got in the case? I have no idea. I don't look. I just do what I got to do.
Yeah.
We had a case recently and we spent over $700,000 on
Mm,
this case. I had no idea. I thought I had spent maybe two or $300,000 on it
mhm.
because it's very expensive today. That the cost of litigating these massive cases has just gone through the roof too with experts and whatnot. Um, and animations and all this stuff that we do. But I'd spent over $700,000 and had no idea because I'm just so focused on winning the case,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
doing right, doing whatever it takes.
I mean, you also have a cadence and you just like it's like driving a car and not thinking about driving anymore, right? You just get in the car and the body knows what to do, right? It's very similar to that. I think where I love that you're still thinking is what's coming the next wave and how to continue to improve. I mean, look, you're a role model. I know I've taken quite a bit of your Sunday afternoon, so thank you for that. I continue to just be so proud of you and so inspired by you. So thank you for being my friend. Thank you for also trusting me with working alongside your team. And I just can't wait to like I'm your biggest cheerleader, your biggest fan, and I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing in the next 5 to 10 years. So thanks for being on, and
Well,
congratulations on all the success.
yeah, and let me give you a shout out too. I mean, you have been equally tremendous into our success, and you have been there through thick and thin with our clients, and you fought with for our clients for when we do these structured settlements and whatnot, and have provided the guidance that I didn't that I needed and didn't know where to get it as we navigated through uncharted waters for our clients. So as you know, we've gotten insane recoveries for our clients that have is legacy money for them and their families, and making sure that that is wisely invested for them for the longevity of their lives, their kids' lives, their grandkids, and so forth is super important to us. And equally, I've noticed with you, like it's as you know, you're my number one to go to when we get a big case close to being resolved, and we got to talk about QSFs or whatnot. I'll call you up and say, here's what I'm thinking, and I'll talk about the families to you and what their needs are. And, now my whole team, not the whole firm, but I have my own team within the firm. My team and knows exactly what to do, and they all trust you. And with our clients, like I have no problem you meeting with my clients privately. That's how much I trust you. Meeting with guardian ad litem
Mhm.
attorneys, we've been through some experiences there.
Yeah.
So, educate, it's all new. It's not like they're dealing with these type of cases every single day. They're dealing with your nickel dime car wreck cases, and then you come in and it's like we're talking about multi eight figures and how to make sure that this is maximized for the family's benefit. I'm not a financial advisor, right? All I could say is this is what I would do if it was my family, like, and what I would want for my family. And a lot of lawyers, they just forget that. They think they get the case settled and then they move on down the road. And if this sounds all new to you and you're listening to this, please call me or call Mirena and find out some options because you really work that hard for your clients. You really should make sure that they're protected for life on these deals. I've seen it both ways. I've seen it where like, and I'm young and I got a multi-million dollar settlement. All right, good luck. My part's done. And then
Yep.
what happens?
Yep.
That money is freaking gone within 2, 3 years, and your client's living under a bridge and they don't have the ability to go earn money and do what they need to care for themselves. So that's tragic. It's avoidable. It shouldn't
Yeah.
happen. Be a better lawyer. That's all I'm saying that to say to hopefully inspire lawyers to pick up the phone and do the right thing and be curious. Um, so I hope that helps.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think still 15 years later, I'm still educating lawyers on tax-free benefits and why a client should look at some options and the ethical obligation an attorney has to their client to at least present it as an option, not to sell it, not to sell me, but to make sure the client knows that you can have, a trust, you can have a tax-free investment, you can have legacy money for your family and generations to come. Most of these people are not sophisticated. So you take that very seriously. You have put me in a position to be able to help these people. And so when you get those texts and I get those texts from families, I mean, there's nothing better. It's like, okay, this mom, what do you do for a living? I help people with their finances to make sure that they can afford a house and right? Because like it's hard to explain to our kids at a young age what we do. So it's nice. Mommy just helps people. So thank you. I've grown with you because of you. I am just very grateful for you, James. And yeah, I can't wait to see what
The way you you tell your kids is so different. My kids, like my Aurora asks, like, what do you do, Daddy? Do you got more money than Taylor Swift? She's 5. Like, why you gotta take me down like that? And Taylor Swift, you gotta give me a complex about this. But I go, I beat up bad people. That's what I do.
That's
You
right.
know, take bullies down. So
Yeah.
thank you. It's been awesome.
Thank you. Yep. It has been. Justice for life. I appreciate you. I thank you. I honor you. And I hope you can still have some of your Sunday to yourself.